It's a beautiful day in London. As you can tell, the leaves are blowing off the trees and through the wind here in St James's Park as I walk towards the cinema, where I'm about to subject myself to 2 hours of complete crap for you. Yes, because people requested that I review the second Twilight Breaking Dawn film, I am going to see it in the cinema. I'm doing it so you don't have to. I hope you're bloody grateful for this. So I did it, I went and I saw the film, and my god, wow, just wow. It probably better than Breaking Dawn Part 1, but that really is not saying much. It was still ranking pretty damn high on the spectacular shit-o-meter when it comes down to it. My primary mistake was that I went to see the film at 11 in the morning, and you do not want to know the kind of people watching Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 at 11 in the morning. The fact that there was a couple in their early 60s having rather noisy sex in the back of the cinema will haunt me for quite a while. Right, the film. Let's talk about the film. Let's talk about what happens. It starts exactly where Breaking Dawn Part 1 leaves off, with Bella realising she's now dead. Or, you know, dead and alive like vampires are, or at least, but not like vampires are, because she's still a whiny pussy like the rest of the vampires in the Twilight saga. But she instantly realises he has to go out and feed, so the first 10 minutes of the plot is taken up with her feeding. This basically involves lots of shots of Kristen Stewart stalking through the forest like a sexy panther looking for a deer, and then she finds the deer and she's about to pounce when she smells a human about 5 miles away and runs off to go eat that instead, pelting it through the woods, climbing up the tree with all her might, and then finally getting there and Edward saying, "No, don't do that," and said, "You're right, I shouldn't do that," and then fucks off back home. If it was that easy, why did she go after him in the first place? If she could, oh, sorry, I forgot to say, on the way home, she wrestles a lion. Why is there a lion in the forests of North America? Then we sort of dilly-dally for half an hour, as usual, waiting for anything to happen. Nothing much does happen. We find out that she's given birth to the ugliest child in the history of copulation. I mean, my goodness, the child was sort of half CG rendered, and it was so ugly. It was, I mean, oh, it'll haunt my nightmares, probably, this little brat. But, yes, so like I say, for half an hour nothing happens. There's lots of bits where plot could happen, in amongst sort of montage bits of her being all Mary Sue-ish and like, look, I've got super strength, look, I can shield myself from people's things, I'm so amazing, everyone loves me. So there's a lot of that, as we would expect. And then there's a couple of bits, like I say, when plot could happen. Like, her father finds out there's vampires and werewolves and then just goes, okay, and fucks off back home! Finally, the bad guys show up, or more to the point, they find out about Bella's kid, and then begin to think about showing up. But because one of the other vampires can see the future, the good guys know that they're going to show up, so they start to make movements to make sure that they will protect the child from the evil vampires. So they go on a giant road trip, basically, because apparently vampires can't use email. Rounding up all the other vampires in the world, who aren't as good as them, but are still better than the bad vampires, whatever, and we end up with every single racial stereotype that was, you know, prevalent in the 1920s, all put together, and they make a sort of force to try and convince the bad vampires not to fight them. This is all cut in between shots of Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson having disgusting sex, with every single cliched Mills and Boon metaphor for sex. I mean, you know, crashing waves and roaring fires and stuff, interspliced so we don't see any naughty bits. But apparently it was amazing. Finally, the bad guys actually do show up in Forks, which is where and we have 20 minutes on the battlefield where the good guys and the bad guys square off against each other and talk. They talk and talk for about 20 minutes long, trying to convince them not to attack them, convince and with as many means as possible, quite quickly actually, make it clear that no crime has been committed, as they say, and they shouldn't do it. But then the bad guys are going to do it anyway because they're bad. But then the psychic girl comes up and says, no, you shouldn't, and if you do, you'll die. Here's the future, so you won't do it. And they go, oh yes, if we attack you, we'll actually die. And isn't it strange that the vampire that we have that was really young a few films ago is now looking all grown up? I'm sure vampires don't age, never mind. I'm sure the girls watching the film won't catch that. And then yes, so the bad vampire sees the future, realises he could die and goes, right, we'll leave you alone then. And then they all fuck off back home. And that's it. That is the end of the Twilight saga. The end of what we consider, or some people consider, one of the greatest romances of the last decade. In a way, I'm actually a little sad that it's over because I won't be able to rage about it to the same extent anymore. But there is some good news. They're going to be making a film of 50 Shades of Grey soon.